Hello and welcome to the Weekend Spectator. My name is Grace Reilly and I'm here with the one and only Paul Kangor. We hope that you had a very Merry Christmas. And now looking into the new year, we're going to be looking back on some of the top stories of 2024. We've come up with a list of 5 top stories that Paul picked out, but I just couldn't argue with. So we're going to go through those. But I've added in some honorable mentions from the past year that we can look at as well. So Paul, it's so great to be with you.
Great and gracious Grace, Merry Christmas. I have my Santa Claus tie on here,
Perfect.
and I am at the snowy offices of the Institute for Faith and Freedom at Grove City College, your alma mater.
Yes, and as we're recording this, we're recording it in advance, and I'm in Arizona at America Fest, which a conference for Turning Point USA, and it's been a great time so far. A lot of really cool speakers, very big event. They're saying 20,000 people are
Wow,
here, which is
wow,
stunning and incredible, really. It's
that's amazing.
blown
And
my
it's
mind.
not snowing there, is it?
No, not snowing here, but not snowing here, luckily, but it will be when I'm in Connecticut at the time that you're watching this, probably.
Ah, good, good, good.
So so yeah, but just
Christmas in Connecticut. That's a great movie, isn't it? You're an old
it
movie
is,
buff.
yes, and that'll be my Christmas in Connecticut.
Yeah, yeah. Are you going to be like Barbara Stanwyck, putting on an ice coat and getting in a horse-drawn carriage and
You know,
go through the countryside? No.
that would be pretty great. I should do that maybe. I should think about that, doing the horse-drawn carriage. That would be a lot of fun.
By the way, she was a major conservative, Barbara Stanwyck.
Really?
Yeah, major anti-communist. Someday
Wow.
we should do old movies as a conversation here
We
and
should.
talk
Yeah, we should.
about.
You used to talk about that in the conservatism class, and it was super interesting, just all of the different actors, especially since, that was kind of the breakout time of all the communist stuff in Hollywood.
Right.
So,
But there were so many Republicans and conservatives. In fact, I think of another like great scene from old black and white movie In the Snow, romantic comedy. It's Swing Time with Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers, right?
yep.
And that what's the song they're singing? You say potato, I say potato. And Ginger Rogers was another outstanding anti-communist
Cool.
conservative. And I
Really.
mean, there's so many Bob Hope,
What
John
about
Wayne.
Fred, actually? Curious.
Yeah, Fred, I've tried to figure out his politics. I think he was largely apolitical because I never heard anything positive or negative. We just watched White Christmas again.
My
Bing
favorite.
Crosby, very conservative, Republican. Um, who else? Bob Hope, of course. I mean, there's just I could give a long list. We should do
Yeah.
that discussion
Super
sometime.
interesting. No, we'll definitely go over that at some point. Very interesting the ways that Hollywood has changed too. But to hit these top stories. So, number 5, we're going to count down to number 1. The top biggest stories of the year. Number 5, the shocking first presidential debate with Joe Biden, catatonic Joe Biden, as you put it. And yeah,
Yeah,
I think we all, it feels like that was so long ago, but that's what kind of opened people's eyes officially to the fact that he'd clearly lost his mind and wasn't mentally there. Now, many of us have been pointing that out for a while before, but that really solidified it where no one could deny it after that debate.
yeah, yeah. So the category I came up with, right, is the top 5 most astonishing political events of 2024. And that was really astonishing, right? I mean, in a way, look, you and I and a lot of Republicans, conservatives knew that Biden was in bad shape. I mean, we had been seeing the pictures, the video in the preceding weeks. Remember his press secretary, KJP, right, saying like, "Oh no, this is fake news, fake videos
Fine.
by
And
Republicans," and the
Kamala
arts.
Harris, by the way, Kamala Harris saying multiple times, Biden is in perfect good health and he's ready to
Right.
lead in our second term.
Thank God our president is in good shape, in good health, and is ready to lead in our second term. Because Joe Biden is very much alive and running for reelection.
President is in good health. He's very active. You see it for yourself with your own eyes.
Joe Biden is going to be fine. And let me tell you something. I work with Joe Biden every day. The work that under Joe Biden's leadership, our administration has accomplished is transformative. So the way that the president's demeanor in that report was characterized could not be more wrong on the facts and clearly politically motivated.
I mean, yeah, these clips, I had shared some of these clips. a few months before the election to remind everyone, remember the many lies that the Democrats told all of you to your faces, because that's exactly what they did. For months and months, the Democrats from KJP to Jill Biden to Kamala Harris, all those who were closest to Biden, kept gaslighting Americans, saying that, oh no, Biden's in perfect health, he's great. But then obviously that debate kind of just again solidified the fact that that was all a lie. And then further, this was solidified by what will be number four, the most astonishing, thing that happened. And I bet a lot of you can guess what number four will be. And it,
Yes, yes. Yeah, so hold on to that thought. But yeah, by the way, good list would be the top 5 biggest lies of 2024, right?
that
But
would be,
but but yeah, we had seen video in the preceding weeks of Biden in Paris and some of these other places, kind of like, right, like standing in the other direction, looking, and people, like leading him, kind of in
Independence
a
Day, remember
grandfatherly,
that?
come here, Joe, right? And at the time for them to deny all of it, we're like, come on, this isn't the RNC making this stuff up. Look. And so there you've got this massive audience for the first presidential debate, right? Get out the popcorn, everybody's excited. And here comes Biden. So he walks out onto the presidential stage, right? And he's got that look like, and everybody just, I think people gasp like, right. And I said to my wife, I said, oh man, I mean, this is nothing to laugh at. This guy looks like he
He's
could
about to
have a
croak on
stroke.
stage. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he really looked that bad. And they just started off like, kind of, and this could be disaster. This is live television, folks, right? This could be a really tragic moment. All right. Pray for Joe Biden right now that nothing disastrous happens. You already know at that point Trump's going to win the debate, right? Because Biden can't even cognitively make it through. But yeah, that was an astonishing moment.
I'm
So
gonna
much so you wonder what could be my 4 that are more astonishing than that. That was pretty striking.
I know, right? Well, I have to throw in one of the honorable mentions now, related is the golf conversation that happened during that debate.
Oh, that was hilarious.
That's
Yeah, it was
we never
amazing.
forget. That's an honorable mention. Most astonishing things. The golf conversation in the middle of the debate, which
Yeah,
that's my
you
take.
couldn't hit a ball 30 yards or whatever. It's like,
Handicap this, that, no,
unbelievable.
yeah. Oh, that was a lot
It's
of
like a
fun.
Saturday Night Live skit. I mean, you can see somebody writing that down.
I know.
You
Yeah,
could hit a ball 30
that
yards.
was something for sure. Yeah, and now jumping to number four, if you were thinking before and kind of trying to guess, is the actual Biden withdrawing from the race, which that goes
Yeah.
right along with this, where if the debate didn't solidify the direction that this was going, that was the turning point there. We're on a Sunday afternoon. Not even, I remember this because with my work, I joke, I mean, can't this stuff happen during business hours? Not, I'm trying to enjoy the Sabbath, right? And instead, I see a statement online saying that Biden has exited the race. And again, if you all remember, this was very significant because Biden did not make a statement. There was no video, there was no address to the American people, nothing. It was just kind of an email statement posted. And then right after that, Kamala's ushered in, and we didn't even hear from Biden for weeks after that, to the point where it was very clear that, yeah, he was forced out. It's exactly what it looked like. And there were questions at the time of if he was even alive still because he was that far gone from the press.
Yeah, and Donald Trump made an issue, right, in the first presidential debate that he had with Kamala, that what is the status of Biden? I mean, what's he doing? Is he actually running the country? And
We
in
still don't
my
know.
astonishing list, yeah, I have this one fourth. It's probably is actually less astonishing that he did drop out when you consider what he was like in the debate. It was almost predictable at that point, but still, I mean, in terms of the sequence of how this went, following the debate, you realize at that point he really had to. Although, if you remember working through this, Grace, at the time, there were a lot of people who were saying, "No, Biden's sticking in. He's not going to drop out. He's not going to withdraw. He's not going to withdraw." Gavin Newsom said that he stood behind him. All sorts of other people did. I think what really did it was when the polling numbers showed Donald Trump
Yeah.
leading Biden by 3, 4, maybe even 5 points at one point. Democrats said, Joe, you
Now,
have to leave because you're
here's a
going to
question.
lose.
Here's a question, actually. So now looking back, who do you think Trump would have beat more, Biden or Harris? Because he beat Harris pretty badly,
Yeah, he did, but I think it would have been a larger margin with Biden by far,
which is hard to
according to the
imagine.
polls too. Yeah, because and she did so much better than he did in their first debate that she had a lead over him by about 3 points. And it
Yeah,
took him the next several months, right? And then I think the eve of the election, real clear, had the two of them both at like 48.5 to 48.5 or 48.4, 48.4, something like that. So he finally caught her. But so Trump's lead over Biden, right? Kind of, just went like this once Kamala came in, and then he had to
yeah.
close the gap back up. So he would have really crushed Biden, I
Yeah, and I
think.
think so. Another honorable mention that I will throw in now, and I was going to wait till the end, but it is again relevant, is just how significantly Trump beat her in the fact that she didn't even turn any counties. Like she didn't flip anything. Like
Right.
she performed so poorly. I thought
That
that was
county map is
astonishing.
amazing, isn't it?
I thought
That
that Trump would win, but I did not expect her to do that badly. I'm not
right.
so I just think how the way that Trump won and how significant that was, just how significant the victory was, and also on the flip side of it, how significant the defeat was for Kamala Harris.
Right, right. And that brings me to my third most astonishing development was that, and RFK Jr. talked about this quite a bit, right, including at our gala in September for the American Spectator. But the fact that these people, these great proponents of democracy, right,
Yeah.
held no Democratic National Convention. And I said on a bunch of episodes of our podcast over the past several months that I remember I would do some different talk shows and people would say, so professor, you teach political science. Now, what will happen if Joe Biden drops out? And I said, oh, this will be great. You'll have an actual real convention, right? Smoke filled room and debate, Gavin Newsom or Whitmer maybe, or Jared Paulus. What about Kamala Harris? Oh, they're not going to pick Kamala Harris. She's the most unpopular of all. But it'll be great to be a real convention. Nope, not at all. Which is why Trump called it a coup, and other people did. I mean, there was no debate at all. They just crowned her as the nominee, and they picked the most unlikable person in the whole party. I mean,
They messed
Biden had always been likable to many people in the country, but Tim, it became a matter of cognitive competence, right? But she was not liked, and they picked the least likable person with her.
they messed around and they found out.
Yeah,
So
they did, and they paid the price. And I have tied at number three with that Kamala was her awful choice of Tim Walz as her running mate, especially awful because had she picked Josh Shapiro, all right, and Megan is even more astonishing. She was in Philadelphia. Remember that? And it's like she's in Philadelphia tomorrow. She's going to announce her pick. It's like, well, okay, Josh Shapiro. Instead, it's the guy from Minnesota, right? It looks like Uncle Fester from Minnesota, right? And
horrible
the
choice.
weirdest of all of them.
Hmm. Yeah, ironically the weirdest, even though he tried to pretend he was the most normal. That was a
Right, right.
bad pick. So all around, just really horribly run. And we touched a little bit on this before, but just to remind everyone, the millions of dollars that she's in debt after also horribly running the campaign. And a lot
Oh,
because she paid millions out to these celebrities to endorse her. So
Oprah, the Oprah show, right? The Call Me Daddy.
Beyonce, Usher,
Oh, awful. The payoff to Al Sharpton's group, right? I mean, it was, and the Democrats ought to be, I'll tell you, Grace, they're so good at keeping their fighting quiet among themselves, right? They
yeah,
ought to
we're
just
not,
be
the right is
jumping.
not good at that at all. It's
No,
all out in the open.
right. It's all out in the open. I mean, the Democrats ought to be jumping ugly, just furious about all the money that she blew. I mean, we talked on a previous Weekend Spectator podcast a few weeks ago how they want a Trump resistance right now, but they don't have any money to fund it
Hmm.
because all the donor money went to Kamala, like $1 billion, and
Yeah.
they're like 20 million in debt or whatever. And imagine had these people won the presidency, there wouldn't be any Doge with these people, right?
I
It'd be
know.
all about government goodies and expansion and paying things off.
Yeah, it's a very, very significantly different reality now than it would have been. And I mean, we can see that based on all of the decisions Trump's already made, the very two paths that we could have been going on, they are going the opposite directions. So the division really, I think, shows through too, just in that sense. And now moving on to number two, Donald Trump becomes the
Yes,
first president to be defeated and reelected since Grover Cleveland.
right. I mean, it was an astonishing thing to see. And looking back in retrospect, what he should have said in 2020 was, okay, I believe I got ripped off. Maybe I feel like this election was stolen. But hey, all my supporters, here's what we're going to do. We're going to come back in 4 years and we're going to beat the suckers. We're going to beat the bastards in 2024, right? Let's do it that way. And the way that he came, and especially, right, Grace, after 4 years of lawfare and Alvin Bragg, and who's the woman in New York who accused him of sexual harassment,
Oh yeah.
and
Um,
the liberal jury unanimously convicts him of that. That what happened in Georgia with the mugshot and everything else, his perseverance to go on and win, and this time not only win the electoral college and win it convincingly, overwhelmingly, but he won the popular vote
yeah.
as well. So it was an astonishing thing to see.
Yeah, it really was. And now number one won't shock anyone.
Yeah, I think more astonishing than Trump's electoral victory was the shooting in Butler, in my hometown of Butler, Pennsylvania. And I wrote about it at the time. I was writing about it live at the time because I was watching it on TV. I was going to go to the rally that day. It's only 25 minutes from here. I bowed out because I knew how bad the weather was going to be, how hot it was going to be. Our Jeff Lord told me, hey, Newsmax is covering it live. Just watch there. But I almost went, Grace, as you know, because my son, my third son, my 16-year-old, was going to the rally.
Yeah.
He had friends going. He thought it'd be cool to see a former president and a massive rally. And so I thought about going just to be there with him. And my wife even said, do you think it'll be okay there? I said, oh yeah. I mean, they can't just, go to a rally and I'll go to Lowe's in the morning and buy a ladder and walk across the field with a gun over your arm, dressed in black, and climb up the side
Yeah.
of a building and go up there and start taking shots at the president. Yeah, it'll be all right. And
Well,
so
it
to
should
so to
then.
watch it, yeah, so to watch it unfold live on TV, and then also, I mean, my wife just dropped to her knees and started praying right away. To know that our son was there, and you
Mhm.
knew people were going to be hit because those bullets have to land somewhere. There's just a
Yeah.
wall of bodies behind him. To see him go down and crack, 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 I knew right away what it was. And it's like, oh Lord, look at this. Can't believe it, can't believe it. And then when he jumped up and did the fight, 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 and I said to my wife in the middle of my anxiety, worried about my son trying to text him, I couldn't help but laugh. I said, he just stood up and
Most
said, fight,
iconic
fight,
moment.
fight. Yeah, amazing, amazing moment. So that was, I think, the most astonishing moment in
Yeah,
anything that happened
I
in
agree.
all of 2024.
I agree, and it's I
Politics
think
everywhere.
a good time to point out again too that of course, since this happened, many have pointed out, we still know far more about the United Healthcare CEO murderer and
Oh yeah,
the
wow.
shooter at that school in Wisconsin. We know more about
Yeah,
those two individuals, and we knew more immediately, like within minutes of finding out that they were suspects, than we do still about Thomas Crooks, who was this attempted assassin, right? Like that tried to assassinate Donald Trump. We still have
yeah,
no information about him. And like, there's a lot of like weird things that happened with the FBI and the body and autopsy and all sorts of things. But the point being, that's something I think that we can all remember to look at the fact that there still is plenty of corruption because how interesting is that we found out far more information immediately about these other people, but we still months later never got the full story here, which is
yeah,
interesting. But
yeah. That's
Yeah,
astonishing in and of itself. And by the way, that shooting of the United Healthcare worker, that, you know, as a non-political moment, actually, it's pretty ideological if you look at it, how it all, but that was astonishing too. I mean, that was,
the reaction by
yeah,
people. I mean, still,
right.
I'm not sure the exact percentage, but there's a significant amount of people who have been completely okay with it, endorse the violence, say that they understand it, say that they like this killer and they're kind of idolizing him now. So that's been very surprising to me. Well, yeah, actually pretty surprising. I didn't expect people to be so overt about their support for
Well,
her.
how about the reaction of the young women after Trump won the
Yeah,
election,
right.
shaving off their heads and swearing off sex? By the way, I wonder if they're still swearing off sex at this moment, right? I wonder if I wonder if they've
Probably
given
not.
up the celibacy,
Yeah.
but the chastity for the
I
moment,
hope
or
so.
they're back at it again.
As we said, though a weird method to get to abstinence, I hope that they realize that they're better off for it. I hope that it's
Right.
good for people who make that decision. But before that we close, because we're running out of time, a few more honorable mentions from the year to hit. I wanted to
Yeah.
point out that in 2024 there has been a surge in Bible sales. So
Mm.
purchases have been up 22%, and this is according to a book sales tracker. The number of Bibles purchased in the US this year is up that much, and which is significant to be
Interesting.
which makes it the biggest selling book, by the way, not only in the world, but in these sales, it's increased dramatically to be up
Wow.
22%. So that points to a really encouraging cultural shift, that I think is worth mentioning as some good news here that I mean, even with all of that, it's important to remember that there are people and they're saying that first-time buyers are bringing these percentages up.
Wow.
So that's, I think, a really cool thing.
Yeah. By the way, it makes sense because I mean, I probably have 6 Bibles, right? So I wouldn't need to buy a new one, right? But yeah, so people who, yeah, new purchases would probably be seekers, right? People that are interested. That's fascinating. I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, so that's, I think, the best news. And then two, I think just to remember that, yeah, younger Americans still are anti-Israel, which I think was a really significant thing that we kind of learned and watched unfold this year. Just, as everything happened in Israel with Hamas, still the amount of young people that support the Palestinians in Gaza versus Israelis, it's disproportionate based on age. So younger people are supporting, or are, I should say, against Israel. It's not even necessarily just supporting Palestinians, but many young people are anti-Israel, whereas older people are pro-Israel. So I think that's another important thing to bring up as we look over the year, because unfortunately that conflict is still ongoing. Hopefully Trump's able to put a bit of a stop to it, as he said. But that's just been an interesting thing to watch amongst the younger generation, especially. And then also, again, just the lies about Biden's health were very significant. And on top of that, I wanted to highlight a new survey that shows support for deportations in the building of the wall. So Americans are actually, according to a new national survey, supporting those efforts that Trump is proposing in pretty significant numbers, which I think was kind of widely known, but I think that this just solidified more. So, broken down by party, support for building the wall, it was found that 88% of Republicans support it, 58% of Democrats, or excuse me, 58% of independents, and
Huh.
39% of Democrats. And then of that,
It's pretty good for
61.
Democrats. It's
Oh
almost
yeah,
40.
it's
Wow.
it's it's a big majority. And then
That's what happens when crime starts coming to, Democrat areas and
yes,
cities, right?
and
They
even of
start to
that
figure it out.
37% of the people who voted for Harris in November say that they support the building of the wall too.
Yeah.
I just think
Yeah,
these are very
which
um,
shows that really the crime has hit home in a
yeah,
lot of those places, right? The case of the girl it's not in Georgia, right? Who
in
was the
Riley.
nursing student who was raped and killed, right? I mean, those are cities that's happening in. So people hear about that in their local news. They
Yeah.
know that that's going on.
Yeah, no, very significant. And this poll, by the way, was from Steve Cortez with League of American Workers, and it has other things broken down with deportation support. But again, as we go into the new year, that is sure to be a very big news story. I would predict that the left is kind of going to take that and run with it. And all you're going to see all over the news, heartbreaking stories about deportations and everything else. But I think that the realities of all of this are really significant and important. And it's clear that Americans are supporting these efforts to really that are just common sense of having law and order and making sure that our country is secure. So yeah, do you have any final things before we wrap up? Because we're running out of
No, I
time.
was gonna say, yeah, we'll see how that turns out in 2025. And just one of the things that you just said there in review, young people, yeah, college age. I mean, it's really college educated young people, right? Anti-Israel and some of this other stuff. But Trump did surprisingly really well among young people, right? And did really well among demographics and even among certain states
Mhm.
that we haven't seen in quite a while. Not only did he win every single swing state, didn't lose any of them,
Yeah,
right? Won Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Michigan, but lost New Jersey only by about five. Lost Illinois by only about five. So even in states that predictably she would win, Trump way outperformed what everybody thought he would. So,
yeah.
yeah,
It's really amazing, and we wanna know what your favorite or top what you would say the top stories are from the year.
yeah. Give us your
Favorite
top five, right?
Yeah, give us your in the comments, please let us know, and if you disagree, agree, or have other astonishing things that didn't make our list, let us know in the comments of the video. Be sure to share this with your friends as well. And I will say, I think the Bible one's an easy favorite, but the rest of it, I
Mm.
mean, the astonishing ones, there's plenty there to compete with. I mean, it was one of the craziest years. I mean, for me, the craziest in my lifetime that I've ever seen. Easy.
Maybe if Kamala had won, one of the top selling books would have been on the apocalypse. Maybe that would have been. But yeah,
Probably.
copies of the book of Revelation.
Yeah, right, exactly. No, good point there, but we hope that you all have a wonderful new year, and just, yeah, blessings going into this next year, that you enjoy Christmas, and we're looking forward to being with you next time in 2025. Make sure again that you share this, let us know in the comments what you think, and go to spectator.org for more.
Amen. Grazie, Grace. We'll talk to you all later and a blessed 2025 ahead.